Here we are for the last part of the success path, and this is the action items. I mean, these are the things that you want people to do in order to make progress to the next stage. Now, you have to clearly define these, but the good news is that you've actually done the heavy lifting. Because if you defined the milestones, those are your markers or your identifiers, and the action items are typically those very things that you want them to do. So let's just take, for example, a health-related membership site. If we were mapping out the success path for this, we would have different stages. We would have milestones, and the action items would follow the milestones accordingly. So, for example, worst case scenario is a family that's super unhealthy, eats a load of crap, and doesn't move their body. Other end of the spectrum is a family that's super healthy. They eat really healthy foods, and they all move a lot. Okay, so how do we make progress from one extreme to the other? Well, that's what we're going to map out here. So if we go to the first stage, some of the action items might be, number one, track the foods that you're eating using this particular tracking sheet. So you might give them a worksheet that helps them track the food that they're eating. Because by doing that, they now have a heightened awareness of what they're actually eating and putting in their body. Number two action item might be make a list of all the foods that are in your pantry and in your fridge. So again, you give them some type of a tracking sheet. They would go through and they'd make a list of all of those foods in their pantry or in their fridge. The third action item might be identifying how many glasses of water they drink on an average day. And it might be, you might say, if it's less than 3, drink 4, as an example. Or you might give them a certain number of glasses of water that you want them to drink. And so you could ask them, yes or no, have you drunk this many glasses of water on an average day? And they'd be able to answer that yes or no. And the action item might be to drink that many glasses of water each day. Another action item might be to exercise. And you may give them some parameters for that. You may say, look, exercise when you're at the worst stage is just moving your body on purpose. So that might be going for a walk, and you might give them some parameters. It might say at least 20 minutes of walking or jogging or some type of exercise, but you're clearly defining it so that there's nothing that can be misinterpreted. You and I have to be clear about defining what these particular things are. That's the milestones. Because if we weren't clear about exercise being at least 20 minutes of walking, then somebody might interpret what they're doing to be exercise, and it's not really. So don't use vague and general terms. Give people specifics in terms of what you want them to do, because then you can go back to them and you can say, hey, have you taken an inventory of what foods are in your pantry? If they say yes, you say, great, can I see your inventory list? And if you see them squirm, well, guess what? You know they haven't taken that action, they haven't done that action item. You could say, have you tracked your food? And if they say yes, you say, great, can I see your tracking sheet? Again, if they squirm, you know that they haven't taken that action. The key thing here is that you define actions so that they're clear and that you know for certain whether somebody has done them or not done them. Because if they do them, the nature of just taking the action that you're asking them to do will move them down the progress line, if you will, down the success path. Now here's a little tip. When you're defining these action items, one of the things that I recommend is that you make the ones in the beginning easy. Because the easier they are, the more likely people are going to do them. And the more likely they do them, the more momentum they get on their side, and the more momentum they have, the more progress they will make overall. If they get hung up in the early stages where the action items are really difficult or really hard, or they take a long time, people get discouraged and, well, they just don't make the kind of progress that they can. And when that happens, they're going to leave the membership. So bottom line, in the earlier stages, make the action items things that are going to be easy to do. It's going to help people get momentum, and it's going to help them make a lot more progress overall. When you do this work now, it's going to create so much clarity for your audience. And that is going to be a unique differentiator for you amongst everybody else that's out there teaching your subject matter.